Welcome listeners and viewers far and wide from Tiananmen Square to the Tenement Museum. I'm Eric Gislason, Associate Broker and Team Leader of the Excelsior team at Brown Harris Stevens, Master Certified Negotiation Expert and Instructor, founder of Archway Partners Coaching, and your host of Shear Line Negotiation Mastery, the podcast bound and determined to reclaim and restore the good name of negotiation and unlock the door to value creation, win-win solutions, and the true power of integrative negotiations. Now, okay, let's start with a truth bomb. Most people experience silence as discomfort. A pause feels awkward. Dead air feels ominous, and in the moment, it seems to last forever. We feel like we need to say something, explain something, defend something, rescue the moment, and help the other person out, fill the void, or at least keep the energy alive. We rush to close the gap, often before we've even thought about what we're about to say. It can make us feel vulnerable or exposed. It can feel like we're losing control. But we can also learn to embrace silence, to understand that the opposite is often true. Silence is not the loss of control. Silence creates control. It manages control. It maintains control. And when used deliberately, silence can create enormous advantages. Silence slows the pace of the conversation and interrupts emotional reactions. And for all the reasons I just mentioned, silence often encourages or even compels the other party to keep talking in an effort to fill the void. And when people keep talking, they frequently reveal motivations, priorities, fears, timelines, pressure points, and information they never intended to volunteer. And perhaps the most importantly, silence improves active listening. You can't truly listen while preparing your next sentence. You can't fully understand while waiting for your turn to speak. Active listening helps us understand facts, priorities, needs, and details. Empathetic listening helps us understand emotion, pressure, uncertainty, and what is happening beneath the surface. Put the importance of listening together with the discipline of silence, and you have a powerful 1-2 punch that few people ever develop, but can dramatically improve the results in business, relationships, and in life. And if I may say so, it also happens to be a dynamite topic for a podcast episode. And with that, we'll take a break and a word from our fantastic sponsors, and we'll be back right after this to introduce our special guest.
Looking to stage a property but on a tight budget and timeline? Stage with Stage and Fold. Stylish, lightweight, foldable, 3D printed cardboard furniture that looks real. Quick delivery and easy assembly. Staging starts at just $199 a month per room, and setup takes less than 30 minutes. Contact us today to stage smarter, sell faster, save thousands with Stage and Fold.
From residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
Welcome back. Today's special guest is someone who understands high-level conversations in a world where discretion, trust, and precision deeply matters. Andres Perea-Garzon is a licensed associate real estate broker with Brown Harris Stevens, specializing in high-end properties across Manhattan. Over the past 14 years, he has closed more than $2 billion in sales, advising clients on architecturally significant residences and complex high-value transactions. His work is grounded in discretion, strategic positioning, and disciplined execution, guiding clients through important decisions with a calm, measured approach. Notable transactions include a $70.5 million full-floor penthouse at 432 Park Avenue, the sale of significant Upper East Side properties including 973 Fifth Avenue, and a record-setting $500,000 per month lease at the Pierre, a Taj hotel. Andres, welcome to Shear Line. I'm thrilled to have you on the podcast and cannot wait to talk to you given your incredible expertise in luxury rental and luxury real estate.
Thank you very much for having me, Eric. very excited to be here.
Good. And I also should say congratulations and welcome to the Brown Harris Stevens family. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Everyone has been incredibly welcoming. I'm very happy and thankful to be here.
Good. Well, I'm going to jump right in with the questions. Andres, let's start here. Most people experience silence as discomfort. So why do you think that silence feels so difficult for so many people?
I think silence is a very intimidating thing for people to experience. I think not being able to fill that void creates awkward space. And I think everyone is afraid of awkward space. It also brings up a lot of vulnerability in the situation.
Yeah.
If you know too much, if you know too little, I think as agents, sometimes we're disciplined to have all the answers and to just jump in and speak. But there's a lot of power in restraint, and there's a lot of power in actively listening.
Yeah, I also find that there are times when agents they don't want to even have a conversation, let alone experience silence, because they're afraid of what they will give up, and that the power of that silence is that it's almost drawing it out of them. They know it's back there. They know they don't want to give it up. They know they shouldn't give it up, but it just kind of like starts to bubble toward the surface with the more silence that they experience.
Right. I mean, I think silence is very intimidating.
Yeah.
But I think once you realize the power of silence and understand it and put it in practice, that's when you really have a very powerful tool in your toolkit, not only for negotiating, but for life in general.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now in your career, in the experience that you have, the success that you've had in high-end real estate, and I mean, there are very few people who have experienced the echelon of the type of deals that you're doing. Was becoming comfortable with silence something that's natural to you, or is it something that you had to train over time as you got into this type of real estate?
Interestingly enough, for me, growing up, I was always someone who was very quiet, very shy. So silence really wasn't an issue for me in general. But I think once you combined the tools that you need as a broker, which is to be assertive, know when to be outspoken, you bring in the element of silence, and you have to be able to fine tune it and find a balance in between those two, and then see how you could use it towards your advantage. I think the issue is not being comfortable with silence. It was more knowing how to utilize it in a productive way to get the results that I wanted.
Did you, when you were younger and you were someone who was comfortable with silence, you weren't a big talker. Was that? Did you realize the power of that silence at that moment? Were you aware of it?
No, but looking back, I think what I gained from being someone that was a little bit more on the shy side of things, I was able to develop a very keen sense of observation.
Yeah.
Of looking at what's going on, what the bigger picture is, what body language tells you. And I think the power of silence is also goes hand in hand with body language.
Yeah.
Because when you have this awkward silence, people start acting in very different ways.
Yeah.
And then those are also very important giveaways or bits of information that you use to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things that when you talk to body language experts, they talk about like things that we don't even know we're doing in silence, where all of a sudden our foot will start doing this. And if if you're a body language expert, you know what that tell is, or what they're kind of showing you, whether they're maybe fibbing a little bit, or maybe they're not comfortable with their position or with what they're telling you. Yeah.
And eye contact, whether someone is coming closer to you, retreating away from you, looking away. Those are all, I think, signs that are very important to know what is true and where that person is in that current moment. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned in that answer the word observation, which I think is so key. You know, there's one thing to be comfortable with silence and to allow space to go by without anything being said. There's another thing to understand what to do in that silence and to be somewhat active behind the scenes, observing what's happening to the other person in that silence. So I love that idea that observation is powerful. Yeah, that's great. Now, you've worked at as we talked about, the highest levels of our real estate market. Have you found that this is a little bit of a loaded question, I got to be honest. Have you found that calm, patient communicators often outperform the louder, more aggressive personalities in our industry?
I mean, I think there's an agent for every single client out there, and there's so many different personalities, and there's different things each personality brings to the table. It's just a matter of having those traits be very well balanced and use them in your favor.
Yeah.
I think you could be very loud and you could be very outspoken, because that also, you do gain information out of doing
Sure.
that, but I think you gain better quality information from stepping back, observing, and listening.
Yeah.
I think when you are reactive, you might get someone in the heat of the moment tell you something that is very important for that negotiation or for that scenario,
Yeah.
which that is worth something. But I don't necessarily think that should be your ethos moving forward within, your negotiation or within your conversation or within the industry.
Yeah.
I just think it's a matter of tapering and balancing it out and being very reflective of what you're good at, what you're not good at, and what you could get better at doing.
And I mean, again, another great key word that I heard when your response is the quality of information.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's also something that's so incredibly important, because people will provide information to us. They will tell us things.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, what is the quality of that information? What assumptions are built into that? What conclusions are they drawing with that noise that they're providing us? Is it something that's real, or is it something that's just space filler?
Right.
Do you find that do you have any examples of where the quality of the information that you were given changed with the way that the broker was presenting themselves?
I mean, I think every time we get on the phone with one of our brokers and one of our colleagues, and let's say we're representing the buyer in a transaction, and we want to find out more information that we can't really ask directly, those uncomfortable questions.
Yeah.
You have to set the scene, and you have to let the other side vent out what they need to say. You could put little breadcrumbs and see where it takes you, but you also have to have the ability to listen to those, to the response from those breadcrumbs that you're giving to the other side. I mean, that's the art of the game. That's the art of the deal negotiation.
Yeah.
You're trying to see what information you could gain, because information is power, and information will ultimately help you get across the finish line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So how do you know the difference between strategic silence and awkward silence?
That's a great question. I think if we look back and try to address what awkward silence is, I think awkward silence happens when either party is uncomfortable in the situation to begin with. You're walking into the room already uncomfortable because you may not have all the information. You may not be comfortable with that person. So I think that's the difference between awkward silence and then a powerful silence, where you're all in the room ready, willing, and able to get something done. You all have a common goal in mind, and you're just trying to see what the playing field is like.
Yeah. You can't, I mean, and I'm thinking about that idea of awkward silence versus strategic silence. And I'm wondering, is there a way that if the silence becomes awkward and we feel that somehow this silence is doing us more harm than good, maybe it's the relationship and we see that the other person is uncomfortable. Is there a way, a strategic way that we can break that silence, or when we break that silence, to make the other person feel comfortable again, so that it doesn't have that awkwardness to it?
I would say ask questions, be direct. I've been in very awkward situations and rooms where there's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
And it's, well, how do you feel about this situation? Where do you think, what would you like to achieve out of it?
Yeah.
What do you think about this? And you listen. And then I think that's how you kind of thaw out that awkward silence, is by kind of opening up and letting the other side open up and say what they need to say and get off their chest what they have to get off their chest. These are all very emotional conversations.
Yeah.
And you might have an ultra high net worth individual, but that doesn't mean because they're worth X, Y, and Z, this isn't something that's important to them.
Yes, exactly. I love that. I mean, and I think that's a window for our audience, for all of our audience, especially the agents that are in the audience, to understand that, whether you're doing deals with people at the $300,000 or $400,000 price point or the $70.5 million price point, our clients come to the table with they all have a left brain and a right brain. So there's, so there is that emotionality or that emotional side of every deal, no matter who the client is, no matter their net worth.
Mm-hmm. We're all just people.
We're all just people. Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of people, we are going to take a break and hear from our sponsors, and we will be right back after this.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. We work with Brown Harris Stevens and many other top real estate firms, staging their homes to sell quickly and at the highest price possible. Our staging is affordable without sacrificing quality or design. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
All right, everyone, and we are back. Now, we're going to shift gears from the art of silence, understanding, mastering, and being comfortable with silence, to the art of listening. So what is the difference between hearing someone and truly listening to them?
I would say the ability, well, it's not an ability, but it's a trait, is to have empathy.
Mm.
So I think that's the difference between that, because you could be listening to, let's say, numbers, comparables, whatever it is, just facts.
Yeah.
And then you could actively be listening and going towards an empathetic listening mindset where you are trying to pick up on the clues of where they are right now. Why are they selling? Why are they buying? Why are they transitioning from this, from one stage of their life to the other? So it's the ability to have empathy that's very important.
I love that. And that active listening and that empathetic listening, that idea that we're not just hearing words, we're trying to figure out what's in between the spaces, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's behind the words that gets us to the actual answer. I love that. So, and now how does strong listening, empathetic listening, as you talked about, build trust, especially in a world where discretion and confidentiality matter so much, like the high-end world of New York City real estate?
Well, I think having the ability to have empathy is what gets you to get the information that is confidential.
Yeah.
In order for you to share confidential information with someone, they have to have a level of comfort. And that's where being empathetic comes into play. I think more importantly, like I said, it doesn't matter what their net worth is. They are just people. They are humans. They have feelings. They go through the same things that we all go through. And everyone just wants to be heard, and everyone wants to be listened to. I think if you look at your ultra high net worth individual, they have 1 million people around them at all times, telling them what to do, what not to do. They have advisors, family offices, bankers. There's 1 million different people involved around the high net worth individual.
Yeah.
And they're just being told what to do. And they're okay with that because that's their structure. They're very good at one thing, which is what got them to that point. And then you have a team of people around you to support you in that sense. But they don't always have someone who will sit down with them and listen. I think as brokers, as agents, we're there to advise, we're there to listen, We're not their therapists. We're there to close a deal.
Right.
But we're also there to understand why we're all here in this room together and what we're all trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I would imagine, that idea, that world that you're speaking about, where there are handlers or there are advisors, there are those people that are in their sphere that all play a role in helping them elevate whatever it is that they're doing as someone who's achieved this kind of wealth. I would imagine that breaking into that inner circle or gaining that trust so that person can rely on you, because I'm sure that they to some degree, they give a lot of, they empower the people around them to make decisions on their behalf because they kind of have to. They can't do it all themselves.
Right.
So to be in that trusted inner circle has got to be a difficult place to get. Is that right?
It's incredibly difficult because in order for you to get there, you have to also go through everyone else around that circle. Right. So you have to go through the family office. You have to go through the advisors. What you have to do is really treat every single layer around that ultra high net worth individual with respect.
Yeah.
And with empathy, because they're going through, they're in a very high stress situation.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to understand that. But ultimately, I think is just being respectful and listening to everyone around them.
I love that. So what mistakes do you think agents make when they talk too much and listen too little?
You're immediately losing leverage in whatever that conversation is and whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Immediately. When you're speaking too much, it gives more information that you should be giving. Whether you're talking about a personal relationship or whether you're talking about a very intense negotiation, you're giving too much information. And I think the agent either is very eager and inexperienced and they want to fill in the space, or they have a lot of experience and they're making it about themselves. So part of it, you have to learn how to check your ego at the door and then kind of see what is in front of you first.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think that when you have that agent that is used to speaking a lot, that they feel like they have to fill that void, and they think that because they're speaking a lot that they're controlling the situation, that they're controlling the room, and even in some negotiation strategies or some negotiation techniques, they talk about being in control. But I think that that's misunderstood, that actually speaking words means that you're in control, right? When you're asking questions, oftentimes when the one who's asking more questions, the one who's getting more intel does have control. But if you're speaking and the other person is a skilled listener, skilled at silence, you may feel that you're in control, but that person is just extracting more and more information, more and more intelligence from you.
Exactly. I mean, they're not steering the ship, even though they think they are.
Right.
And that's where you have to have the ability to check your ego and realize, okay, what do we have in front of us? What do I need to be successful in this conversation? And in this case, you listen and you ask the questions that you need to ask, because we get more by asking the questions than just going ahead and just chatting away.
Right.
Is what I think.
I love it. Okay, one last question before we go to the lightning round. If an agent listening to this podcast today wanted to become better in the next 30 days, what's one daily habit that you would recommend around listening and silence?
That's a great question. I would say reflecting, a lot of reflecting and knowing who you are. I think one good thing is to kind of sit down, and it's okay. You can sit down, write it in your notebook what you are good at and what you're not good at.
I love that.
Because next time that you walk into a high pressure environment, you already know what you have to get better at. And in our industry, you never know when you will be in a high pressure environment.
Yeah.
Right? We could have a deal that we've been working on for 6 months unfortunately blow up in 30 seconds. Right. I think one of the scariest things to hear is an attorney to say pencils down. And then what?
Yeah.
I remember when I heard that, I was like, wait, what does that mean?
Right. What, pencils down, am I taking a test? I don't know. What am I supposed to do now? Yeah.
Exactly. But I think is reflecting and being very aware of what you bring to the table and what you don't bring to the table and what you could get better at doing. I know that I've had to have those tough conversations with myself as to, okay, these are the things that I'm great at, and these are the things that I could really, really work on. So when you're walking into that conversation, you won't have the awkward silence because you won't be uncomfortable. You're very aware of who you are, and you're hyper aware of what you bring to the table.
That's such fantastic advice, and I think that idea of self-awareness leads to all of the other selves, right? It leads to self-confidence and self-efficacy and self-worth. And all of that stuff comes from really sitting down and doing a deep dive into what you bring to the table and what you need to work on. And that's such a healthy thing to do. I love that advice. That's fantastic. All right, so we're going to move on now to the lightning round. We have to cue our theme music to the lightning round. It's a little bit higher, but I got a little rough spot there. It's not as low. But all right, so lightning round. Couple of quick ones for you here. Better negotiator, talker or listener?
Always a listener.
Great. A more powerful, question or answer?
Questions. Again, I think going back to what we just spoke about, by asking the right questions, you're getting the tidbits of information that you need. Even asking the wrong questions, I mean, sometimes you do get the answers that you may or may not want to hear, but always the question.
I love it. And then harder skill to master, silence or empathy?
I would say silence. Empathy is either you have it or you don't. I think that's something that we're very, very hardwired. There was something that I grew up with my mom saying to me, and she would always say in Spanish is silencios de sabios, which is silence is for the wise. And that was something that was very, very ingrained, I think, in the way that I grew up.
Yeah.
And empathy was just something that I always had, I think, due to my temperament of just being someone that was a little bit more reserved and a little bit more quiet in general. I got to see how everyone in the room felt. You have to learn how to read the room.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to, what we were talking about, your upbringing and at a young age, having this, innate ability. It's great. I think, and I also think we just came up with our episode title, Silence is for the Wise. I like it.
Right. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. All right. And I know that you are a member of the board of directors for the Manhattan chapter of NAHREP.
Yes.
And I'm a member. I know there's an event coming up next week. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your involvement with that group and anything you want to share with our audience about the upcoming event and everything else that's going on with NAHREP.
Of course. My introduction to NAHREP was very kind of natural, very organic. Kind of like a lot of my career, it's all been based out of relationships. I think a lot of our broker-to-broker relationships are some of our most important relationships, even more important than having our relationship with our clients. I mean, I think clients are important, but our co-brokers and our industry colleagues are, I would say, the most important contact. That's how I became involved in NAHREP. My dear friend Joe Alvarez got me involved in it. He's a sales director over at Sutton Tower. He said to me, look, we're trying to get this trade organization up and running. Would you like to be a part of it? And what I'm trying to do with my position as on the board of directors of NAHREP is to create a trade organization where we're getting back that sense of camaraderie that I think that we have unfortunately lost in our industry due to factors out of our control, like COVID. A lot of that all office culture disappeared. And that office culture is so important. It was what built my career, were the colleagues around me who mentored me and guided me through the process. So what I would like to do is really bring our community closer and provide events that bring value to what we're trying to do as
that's great.
agents. That's my goal. And the other goal is the fact that Hispanic and Latino homeownership, we are one of the highest communities within the U.S. in terms of demographics of first-time home buyers. I count myself as one of those in the past year.
Yeah.
And it's something that we are not necessarily aware, and that's something that we're trying to bring awareness to. So it's a two-tiered goal.
I love it. Well, thank you for your work and dedication to our industry and to that organization. I think it's such an incredibly valuable organization. For those people who are not members or who haven't attended an event, I'm a recent member, I think in the last 9 months. They're some of the best events real estate events that I've ever been to. They're incredibly well attended. The networking aspect of them is fantastic. The speakers are brilliant. So congratulations on all you're doing there. Jacqueline Plaza was actually one of my early guests on the podcast.
She's wonderful and she's a great friend. I think I'm so happy that you've shared that with me, because everything that I try to do I always try to add value.
Yeah.
And whether it's our sponsors or our members or future members, I want them to walk away with something that they didn't have when they walked in the door.
Incredible. Well, Andres, can you tell our audience where they can find you? If they want to connect with you on social media or wherever they can connect, how do they find you?
Sure. Just it's my name on Instagram and on all my social media handles.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we're going to bring it out here with our final thoughts. And there are 3 practical takeaways that all of us can begin using immediately to improve both our listening skills and our use of silence. First, after a strategic question, pause longer than feels comfortable. Most people ask a question and then jump right back in because silence feels awkward. Do the opposite. Ask the question, then stop talking. Count silently to 3 or even 5. Let the other person think. Let them speak. Let them have a moment to breathe. You'll be amazed how often the real answer arrives after the pause, not before it. In fact, you might even get your answer through the body language or nonverbal communication, as we talked about earlier, through that nonverbal communication and body language during the pause. A lot of what you learn happens in that space between the end of your question and the beginning of their answer. Second, listen to understand, not to respond. Too many people are mentally writing their next sentence while the other person is still talking. That's not listening, that's waiting, and that diminishes your ability to actively listen. In your next conversation, challenge yourself to focus completely on their words, their tone, and their meaning. Don't prepare your rebuttal, don't rehearse your story, just listen. That alone can transform your communication. And third, test for understanding. Reflect back what you've heard before offering your opinion. A simple phrase like, "So if I'm hearing you right," or "It sounds like what matters most to you is," can instantly improve trust and clarity. People calm down when they feel understood. They become more cooperative when they feel heard. Testing for understanding is one of the fastest ways to elevate any conversation and to get to the heart of what matters. And that's Shear Line today, everybody. A huge thank you to our guest this week, Andres Perea-Garzon. As a reminder, you can support this show by following us, subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just go to getmorenetwork.com, and there you can check out all of the amazing shows on the More Network, including past episodes of Shear Line. You can find me all over Instagram at archway.partners, as well as on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram at Eric the Expert. You can contact the Excelsior team at BHS by going to bhsusa.com, and you can connect with my company, Archway Partners Coaching, by visiting archwaypartnersinc.com to learn all about all of our coaching opportunities, training opportunities, including our new Partners Experience Network, a growing community of agents with access to hours of content, including courses, modules, scripts, and tools, as well as weekly small group coaching live with me. So remember, everyone, there's a key for every lock, but it's the right combination of grooves, cuts, and teeth that lift the pins and create the shear line. Until next time, keep turning curiosity into connection, mystery into mastery, and keep unlocking what's possible. We'll see you next time, everyone.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.